You are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxshall, in which I chronicle my life and attempts to become a professional writer by, doing some writing daily, hopefully.
Hello, today is Wednesday, the 11th of September in the year of our Lord. Don't know why I said that, 2024, probably to fill an extra few seconds, to be honest. And you are listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer. And once again, I've had a successful day today. My original plan basically went as I planned it. So I was due to have lunch with some friends in Banbury at midday at a lovely little Japanese restaurant in the town. And I decided to get there a couple of hours early. Well, not at the restaurant, but to Banbury, because there's plenty of little coffee shops there. And I thought I would like to do some writing. I do write better out of the immediate environment of my house. I think I was discussing it with one of my friends, actually. I think it's probably because there's less distractions. Anyway, so I found there are plenty of coffee shops, both sort of branded, familiar ones and local ones. And I'm afraid I found a branded one because it had nicer tables to sit and write at. Had a croissant for breakfast, and as the Americans would say, a croissant, and a coffee, and just got on with writing the next bits of scenes for chapter 36. At about 10 to midday, I hadn't finished it by any... Actually, no, I wasn't far off, but I hadn't finished it. So about 10 to midday, I went off, met my friends, had a really nice lunch. I had a rather pleasant prawn katsu curry and some, what's the word for it? Sushi. It was just rather pleasant. So I did that. And once we'd finished, we went and had a coffee, and it was actually rather pleasant. It was an outdoor, there's like on the market square, there's a little outdoor coffee place, and we sat there and it was rather nice. And there's a market tomorrow by the look of it. So just as we were finishing, it started to get quite noisy because they were starting to put up the frames of the market stalls for the market tomorrow. So we called it a day. My friends went home, and I went and found a different, sadly branded coffee shop and sat down and wrote the rest of chapter 36. And yep, it's done. It's the longest chapter I've ever written, I think. I mean, the chapters in this book generally tend to be longer than in my other books, but this one comes in at about 9,500 words. It's a monster. But it is one nugget of story. There's not a place I can split it where it doesn't feel that I'm stopping in the middle of something. And I know, and there are I don't need any cliffhangers. Hopefully the whole chapter is a bit of a bloody hell, how is this going to play out kind of chapter. But I'm very pleased with it. Obviously, it's the first version that's fallen out of my head, so I now need to finesse it. So my plan is, I will probably do some of that today, actually. I've really enjoyed writing that chapter again. So as you know, I now have 2 edits to do. I have what I call my screen edit, where I go over it several times, if necessary, on my computer. And then once that's done, I will physically print it. God knows how long it'll be. It's probably going to be... My normal chapters vary at the moment between sort of 15 and 20 pages. I suspect this one will be more like 25, 26, but I'll find out later when I format it to print it. But yeah, so I'll probably do some of the editing later today. I might live stream it, but I probably won't, because it's probably something I can just do sitting with some music on in the background. And obviously when I live stream, I can't put music on. And then so my plan to have it finished by the end of Friday looks very likely to happen. Tomorrow I'm going out again, meeting another friend, and we're going to look at a stately home type place. But I will have time in the evening, hopefully. But yeah, Friday is my deadline to myself. Well, it is Wednesday today, isn't it? Yes, it is. I've already said that. Yeah, so I intend to finish it on Friday at some point and have chapter 36 first draft, I mean it's not finished, signed off. I've been thinking about what bits and pieces I need to do really in the next draft, and there's a couple. So there's, I think I've already said this, there's a character that works for Arbor Associates who is one of Gordon Oakley's friends who I need to introduce a bit earlier. We don't necessarily need to meet him, he can be on the end of a few phone calls. I think I've already said that. I want to have Ronnie doing some drawing a little bit more often. So one of the things she did when she was young, before, all this nonsense that is going to all this nonsense in the story has taken over her life. She loved sort of sitting outside in nature and drawing things, mushrooms, trees, flowers, plants, whatever. And I want the final scene in the epilogue to be her drawing something. And I think I need to drop it in a couple more times. So I don't think I've had her doing it since university, which is only the first quarter of the book. So I'm not going to have millions of descriptions of her drawing, but there's definitely opportunities when they're staying at, I can't remember the name of Forest Lodge, the name of the Arbor Associates property that they stay at, where she does her training. There's absolutely opportunities there because there's an enormous forest within the grounds. Well, not an enormous, but a big forest within the grounds. So there's absolutely opportunities there for her to do that. So I think I will drop that in. So a really, really good day. Really made a lot of progress today. So I have 4 chapters left to write. As I said yesterday, 2 chapters are the main thrust of the story. One is the chapter of death, and one is the epilogue, which is fairly well formatted in my mind, but things might change. This chapter that I'm writing now was the one with probably the woolliest of plans. I know kind of where I needed to be by the end of the chapter, but I wasn't quite sure how to get there. So I let that bit of the story tell itself organically. And something happens that I really wasn't expecting. It doesn't really change the future of the story. It doesn't change where I want to go with it, but it was just a little moment between 2 characters that came out of absolutely nowhere, and it's like, oh, they're going to do that, are they? Okay. Wasn't expecting that. So yeah, once again, my characters have taken control of the narrative, but it gives me a sort of vaguely amusing little line in there, and it absolutely makes sense for the characters. I mean, I'm being kind of twee about the way I say it. If you want to find out about the character moment, you'll have to watch me live stream if I do that, live stream editing the chapter at some point. But yeah, very pleased with today's progress. I'll be back at some point tomorrow with an update. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves and each other, as Jerry Springer would say, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to The Diary of a Wannabe Writer, presented by Richard A. Boxall. Thank you for tuning in to my random ramblings, and if you'd like to know more about me or my projects, visit my link tree at linktr.ee/Richard Wright, capital R, capital W. Thank you for listening.